I used to be a hardcore atheist. Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens were my heroes at the time. And I was always against religion, especially Christianity and Islam. But after watching Charlie Kirk Memorial, something shifted inside me. I don't suddenly believe in a God, but I cannot ignore the value Christianity brings. And one story about forgiveness hit me so hard. It made me rethink everything I knew about faith and life. Thank you for joining me. My name is Tony, a single dad of two, and I'm just sharing whatever's on my mind for that day. Let's get into it. I feel like I've always been an atheist ever since I was a teenager. I just never thought there was a higher power above us. And because of that, I really never paid attention too much to other religious values. And in fact, I was very heavily against it. I remember having long nights, all the way past midnight, just having debates with my friends about Christianity and Islam and religion in general and atheism. And I always just thought that religion was for people who are weak-minded, that they needed it because they couldn't handle life and so on and so forth. Like that was my level of thinking back then. Was just that I thought people needed it because they just couldn't handle life that they had. And the debates were always about there is a higher power, there's always a higher moral grounding, like where do I get my morals from, etc. I always was under the impression that we get our moral standing from society, from other people, from where we lived, right? And that obviously has some cons where if you live in a bad area with bad values, then you're gonna be bad yourself. And the reason why back then I was really against religion is because, like I say, Richard Dawkins, especially Christopher Hitchens, he was always against religion and how bad religion was, and I just always agreed with him. And so it made me really actually detest religion. It actually made me hate religion. I did not want to hear about it. I always wanted to debate about it. I did not want to be a part of it. And it's true that religion have caused people to do really bad things, but then also there are stories about Hitler and about the Communist parties, and there are stories about Stalin, who's also an atheist, and they have killed multiple millions and millions of people. It's weird because I did not do that research when I was a hardcore atheist about how communists and other people who are secular or atheists did these horrible things. I was like, why didn't I not hear those stories at the time? So it's really weird because, see, I think that's kind of proof of how I was so against religion that I maybe purposely ignored these other truths. Now let's talk about how I became much more spiritual as I got older. And I just realized that religion has a lot of good and that our values resonated or came from Christian values, right? Like there's just no denying that. Our Western civilization was built on these values. So what happens if we get away from those values? And as you can see, I think what I noticed with agnostic and atheist people, there is definitely a strong hate inside that I noticed that it's just not good. And I'm wondering if they had religion, would they still be like that? So like one big value is gratitude. And Christianity talks about gratitude a lot. And I truly believe like the practice of gratitude itself have made my life so much better. 100%. It made me more humble. It made me more thoughtful. It made me more grateful for life. And it actually made my life much more meaningful. And keep in mind, like, even though I am an atheist, I do think that I live one life. And because it's one life, I actually find that much more meaningful. Like there's no afterlife after this. So this is my only life that I need to make sure that I am fulfilling it to the best of my ability and I am making it worthwhile because this is my only life. But the practice of gratitude actually even make that belief stronger. And as I mentioned before, when I talk about atheist and agnostic, I see people online that are like this. They basically have the same belief as I am, that believe in no God. They go down a very dark path and a very hateful path. I was like, man, why are they going down this path and I'm going down this path? And I really wonder about that. I don't say crazy things. I don't talk bad about other people. I just go about my life working, trying to serve my community and trying to be a great father to my kids and just trying to be a great man. For example, right? The gleeful celebration of Charlie Kirk's death. I wonder if the people who are gleefully celebrating, I truly wonder what their religious belief are or if they're atheist and agnostic. And I can bet that they are mostly non-believers. I feel like that's the case from what I've seen so far. And I'm just wondering, is moving away from religion causing this type of hate towards another human being? And, I just wonder about that sometimes. Now, let's talk about Charlie Kirk because he had a huge influence on me becoming a conservative and making my values stronger as a conservative. The main thing is talking about responsibilities, talking about family, it's talking about serving the community. And one of the main things he's talking about is, of course, God, because God is his higher moral standing that he looked for influence from. And that's like the only part I disagree with him on, is because I don't believe in a higher power. Like, I'm trying to be open-minded about it, but I just don't believe in something it being a higher power. I don't believe it. Even right now, when I'm thinking about a God or a higher being up above in the heavens, I don't believe it. However, to me, what I like to learn more about, and the one that Charlie Kirk's always talk about, is the value that Christianity brings to society. And I think it's so important now just to not lose that. I do think church is very important now, and I do plan to attend it this time coming. I do go to Cambodian temples, but I don't really pray. I don't really do any of the incense where you burn the incense and you pray about something. I don't really do any of that stuff. And it's more of a Buddhist type of religion at the temple. But now I'm going to try out Christianity and see how that goes. If y'all haven't watched the memorial, I highly recommend watching it, because it's crazy seeing how they have this event after Charlie Kirk's death. And if you notice, it's not hateful. It's all praising Charlie Kirk and his value. It's all about forgiveness. It's all about being open to dialogue and having the truth. And also it is about battling evil, because they still say like there's evil in the world that we must protect ourselves against, and we cannot just stand by and let it happen. So there is talk about how to combat evil. And evil can be just about people who, doing bad things like killing or inciting violence. So there's still talk about combating those evil, while also talking about forgiveness. And it's very interesting because I had to do a bit more research on the forgiveness part, which I will talk about later. And when I think about my kids, it's like, even right now, what values am I teaching them? And the values I'm teaching them are mainly from Christianity, right? So it's not like they're going to become Christians, but they are learning values about gratitude. They are learning about responsibility. They're learning about independence. They're learning about not being too dependent on other people, but also that community is also very important. And also, when it comes to Christian values, like being a father, being the man, being a good role model for the kids, and not just for my kids, but for other people that's around me. And I do truly believe, like, even if I pass away now, which I'm young, I'm like 36, but even if I pass away now, I do believe that I will leave behind a good legacy. Like, my kids know how good I am. I don't think I've done anything wrong in terms of saying anything bad. And I'm sharing stuff to the world through my content, through myself. This is what I've done to improve my life, and I hope that it can improve your life. Like, that's the type of content I've been sharing. So I do believe that if I pass away, for whatever happens, I will leave behind a good legacy. And that's, to me, very good to know. I do think legacy is important, and just ensuring that my kids have a great future ahead of them, it really fulfills my heart that this is a good path that I'm going on. Now let's talk about Erica's speech during the Charlie Kirk Memorial. And if there's one speech you have to listen to, it is this one. And I'm going to go straight to the point where she talked about forgiving the killer of her husband. And this is absolutely powerful, because even right now, I'm trying to think, how can you do that? Like, how is it possible to forgive someone that does such a horrific act to your husband, to the father of your kids? I don't know how I would react to someone doing that to my kids. I would be angry. I would be rageful. I would be hateful. Like, I would want to do anything to take that person's life away. But to forgive them is just, I don't know how someone could do something like that. You could tell she was kind of struggling to do that, and she was crying a lot. And then people gave her a huge, long-standing ovation over that. And when I thought about it, I was like, okay, when she say forgiveness, or when Christian people say forgiveness, what exactly do they mean? Do they mean that the person don't have any consequence anymore? So I actually did the research and tried to understand, okay, what do they mean by this? When I did the research, it was clear to me now that the forgiveness was not necessary for the person that was doing the horrific act. It was for the person, meaning that you forgive the person so that you yourself is not living in anger, you're not living in sorrow, not living in hate, because those emotions could destroy a person. And so the forgiveness is to move past it, is to live beyond it. And I'm like, wow, okay, that makes a lot more sense. That's absolutely powerful. And the killer still has consequences, meaning that they still will go to jail. They still will get the death penalty, and whatever the consequence may be, they will still face the consequences of that, and the consequence of facing God as well when their time comes in the Christian values. And I was like, okay, now that makes a lot more sense, right? It's for the person themselves mainly, and not the killer. I was like, okay, now I understand why Erica said that. Now I understand why people talk about forgiveness. To come to that point within, I think it was like only 2 weeks now since the assassination happened, she's already strong enough to say something as forgiving that other person. That had to be very difficult to do in front of thousands of people and in online public, right? Because I think there was millions and millions of people watching this. So it's just incredible to see a very strong woman say something like that She didn't try to put down the person. She forgave them. I was like, okay, that is so powerful, right? So what am I doing in the meantime to learn more about Christianity? I actually tried to research on what Bible to buy. And when I researched it, there was like different versions of it. And it was confusing me on which one should I start with. And so instead, I actually watched a video of Charlie Kirk that mentioned the book Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. So that's the first book I bought and it should be coming in today. That book's supposed to talk about the Christian values and why it's so important. So I thought that would be my good stepping stone on learning more about the Christian values. Then I'm going to try to make it to church with my kids every now and then and see how that goes. And funny enough, so I actually talked to a group of other single dads, and actually God has been a huge part of them being good with life, with being okay with what's happening in their life. And I was like basically the only atheist in the group. And I was like, there is definitely something to this, right? There is something to this God, to Christian values in particular. And now, funny enough, I'm the one that's diving into it now, which is very funny to think about. And honestly, I don't think that I'm going to start believing in a higher power or God. I'm more digging into this because of the values. I really want to have stronger Christian values. I want to make my role better as a father, as a great man, as serving my community. Like those, I think, are more of what I'm trying to be better at and learn more about, and not necessarily have Jesus Christ as my savior or believe in a God. And I'm pretty sure that's going to offend some people, but I'm going to be open-minded about it, like in a higher power, but I just don't think that's going to be what I get away from it. It's more of the values and the teachings of it that I think I will really learn more about and be more into. So overall, I just think like atheist, agnostic, or secular society, I do now truly believe that having a religion is an important component. And I do think that Christian value is the number one thing that helps prevent us from going to some crazy land or thinking crazy and saying crazy stuff. So in the future, I'm going to make some more videos about my journey, about learning about Christianity and how it affected me. So definitely like and subscribe. And check out this video right here where you learn more about how Charlie Kirk affected my life and how I went from a Democrat to conservative. You can check out this video right here. Thank you for watching.